In this video, I'll be trying Jackman's watercolours for the first time, swatching a palette of 18 colours I've chosen from their range. Jackman's are a UK-based family business and they only started in 2019. I'm going to share my first impressions of their handmade watercolours, and I've also filmed a short painting demonstration where I'll talk about how I like to use watercolour and gouache together and my process for doing so. Before I forget, I should just let you know that I've linked to Jackman's website in the description underneath the video, and I also have a couple of discount codes for you, which will come up on screen now, but you can also find those in the description too. So make yourself a warming drink and join me in the studio on this rainy November day. I've been really excited to film this video because I've never tried Jackman's handmade watercolours before. I've heard about Jackman's, but this will be my first time trying any of their paints. So the other week, Mark Jackman, who is the founder and the owner of Jackman's, he got in touch with me and asked me whether I'd like to try some of their watercolours. And I jumped at the chance because they have some really interesting colours and also a lot of granulating paints too. And you know how much I love granulation and texture. So these are the colours. Have a little sneak look at the colours before we swatch them. So I have 18 different colours here. He very kindly allowed me to choose the colours that I wanted. So I've put together a very typically Natasha Newton palette here, and I'm going to be swatching these for you, and I'm going to kind of give you my first impressions of them, and then after that I'm going to use them in a painting. So I'm going to show you how I combine watercolour and gouache in my artwork and why I like to combine the two. So for the watercolour part I'll be using these, and then I'll be using the gouache I already own, which is mainly Holbein, to be honest. Some Winsor & Newton, some other brands, but I'll be using that over the top of the watercolour, and I'll be talking to you a bit about my process and why I like to do that. So I think without further ado, let's get on and swatch these lovely colours. The sketchbook I'm using to swatch these is the Etcher watercolour sketchbook, and the brush is the Pro Arte Emma Block brush. It's a size 5 round, and it's kind of marketed as being a gouache brush, but it's really good for watercolour, so I use it for both, and I really like the size 5 as well. So I'm just going to add quite a bit of water to this. So this colour is Wet Sand, and I'm mixing in these little ceramic palettes from Jackson's Art Supplies. I think I'm going to swatch kind of in a long line like I did last week, because I kind of feel that's a really nice way to see how the colours look when they go from mass tone to gradually having more and more water added to them. Well, my first impression of this paint is that there's a lot of pigment, which is a very good sign. So as I say, this one's called Wet Sand. Let's just add a lot of water right to the bottom of the page. It is actually reminding me of Wet Sand. It's very aptly named. Okay, the next one is called Sahara. So I tried to choose colours from the range that I think had over 100 colours in it. I think there were over 100. There certainly were a lot to choose from. I tried to choose my normal palette of, you know, very earthy, natural colours. Also some really nice granulating kind of colour separating type of colours I have in here as well. Okay, so let's try Sahara. So I'm guessing this, by the name, is going to be pretty sandy as well. I like this one, it's slightly more red. Try and get that a little bit heavier. at the top there. Yeah, they feel really nice to work with. They have a kind of nice flow to them. I really like that colour, and I can kind of see some yellow coming through there as well. Actually, should I tell you? I'll tell you as we go along the pigments. I think that would be interesting. So it has all of that information on the tube. So for the wet sand, which was the first one, it's raw umber and yellow iron oxide. So it's PBR7 and PY42. And Sahara, which is the next one along, is actually Potter's Pink, raw umber and yellow ochre. So that's PR233, PBR7 and PY43. And so now we're going to try Natural Yellow Ochre. So this is a single pigment colour, and this is PY43. I love a yellow ochre. It's one of my favourite yellows actually, because I'm not a huge, as you know, if you know me, I'm not a huge yellow person, but I do love a yellow ochre and a Naples yellow. So I like an earthy yellow and then something fairly subtle. This is a really nice yellow. It's so great to finally get to try these paints, because as I say, I've heard about them, and sometimes you try to resist buying more watercolours. Well, you do if you're me and you have a lot already. You know, I could have been missing out on some brilliant watercolours here. And I think I probably was. Oh, you can never have too many watercolours, can you? Let's face it. Yeah, that yellow ochre is gorgeous. It really glows as well, which is nice. So I also chose golden ochre. So this one is PY43. If that's what that one was, right? Yeah, so they're the same pigment, but this one is going to be a little bit more orange, I think. I'll say one thing for Jackman's, they certainly fill the tubes to the max, because they're wanting to kind of burst out of the tubes as soon as I open them, which is a very good sign. Gosh, this is a lovely colour too. Can you see that? I don't know whether... Oh yeah, you can. I'm trying to get the entire sketchbook in shot, and it's quite difficult because I'm a bit limited on my desk at the moment. I haven't got that much room. I'm actually going to be changing my desk soon. Do you remember my old wooden table that I used to have in here? Well, it's coming back in because it's much bigger than this Flexi Spot table. And as much as I love the Flexi Spot, I just don't have enough room. So this is going to go in my craft room, and I'm going to have my big wooden table back, which I'm really happy about because it will make filming a lot easier. I mean, it looks like I'm filming on a wooden background, right? This is a photo board. There you go. You're learning my secrets now, because this desk is actually white and I just think it looks a bit harsh on camera. I'm just taking a little bit of the paint away there. I'm loving these colours, really beautiful. I can see different colours coming through on this one and this one actually. And these two, as I say, were both single pigment. So the next one we have is the beautifully named Autumn Foliage, and it is a mix of azo metal complex yellow and synthetic iron oxide. So it's PY150 and PR101. I'm excited to try this one because I think it's going to look really vibrant and beautiful. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those paints that glows. I really just love the name. Oh, isn't it nice? It looks kind of quite transparent, which allows the paper to kind of show through a little bit and give it that glow. Don't they look nice? I'm really pleased with the colours I chose. It was very hard, let me tell you, to narrow it down. I mean, Mark didn't say I could only have 18, but I didn't want to be cheeky and ask for too many. So I thought 18 is a good palette. It gave me kind of quite a variety, I thought, because I wanted to really show you a fairly broad range of colours. So the next one is one of my old favourites, Burnt Sienna. And this is synthetic iron oxide, so it's PR 101. So this is a single pigment. And I don't know how different it's going to be to the autumn foliage. They're kind of similar. Oh, it's a little bit darker, isn't it? A little bit darker, a little bit more brown. But I love Burnt Sienna. It's in so many of my palettes. Such a useful, beautiful colour. Yeah, they're looking very good together. And we also have Burnt Umber. So this one is another single pigment. The pigment is Burnt Umber and it's PBR 6. I know that some of you like me to mention the pigments, so because these are so well labelled, I'm going to do that. They also have more information on the tube. So it says the permanence, this one's AAA. And it says whether they're opaque, whether they're transparent, and you know, all the info you really need to know. Oh, this is lovely. This is a nice burnt umber. It's going to be a really rich brown. Oh, look at that, that's lovely. Perfect for my forest paintings. I'm always excited to introduce new watercolours to you, especially when they're as good as this. So the next one has a very evocative name, Twilight. So this is PBK 11 and PBR 6. So it's a mix of a black pigment and a brown pigment. So let's see how this looks. It looks very dark, unsurprisingly. Looks quite brown. It'll be interesting to see how this looks when we add more water. These paints are just gorgeous to work with. You really don't need very much at all. They have a lot of pigment, which is always the sign of a good paint. Oh, I love this with more water. Look at that. Interesting to see how that one dries. And this one's called Winter Bark, and it's PR 101, so it's a red pigment, PBK 6, a black pigment, and PB 15, which is a blue pigment. So it sounds like this might do some really interesting things when you add quite a bit of water. Great name again. Oh wow, this looks like a really dark olive colour as I'm kind of adding some water to it in the palette. But let's see what it looks like as we apply it to the paper. Oh, hold your horses. I am liking this one. Oh my word. Okay, this is gorgeous. This is a super moody, dark greenish black. Oh wow. I think we may have found one of my favourites. That is everything I love in a watercolour. I'm going to be so interested to see how that one looks when it's dry. Okay, Graphite Grey is the next one. So this is a single pigment and this is PBK 10. This one seems to be a little bit, you know, when the binder kind of comes out before the pigment, it seems to have separated a little bit. I might need to give it, have I got a cocktail stick? Yeah, I'm just mixing it with the cocktail stick in the tube. It just about fits in there. Yeah, paints do that sometimes. Some of them seem more prone to separating than others. Well, I've tried to mix it. Let's see when I paint with it if it looks okay. Oh, that was a messy one. My fingers are messy now. Oh gosh, I'm loving the winter bark. Look at this. I can see the blue coming through. It looks slightly greenish. You've got the brown in there. And in the mass tone, it looks black, but it's kind of a really interesting black. I think that's a really unusual one. Okay, so this is the graphite grey. And it might be a little bit weak because of the binder. I don't know whether that's the nature of this pigment that it wants to separate. Who knows? Well, probably somebody knows out there. I have a lot of very knowledgeable subscribers, so let me know. I'm loving this grey though, it's a lovely colour. It's just a bit of a tricky paint, but I think it's okay. Yeah, so I'm very curious to see. We're going to test their version of Payne's Grey next, and it says that it is lamp black and phthalocyanine blue, so PBK6 and PB15. So let's see how this looks. Yeah, the only one so far I've had a bit of a binder separation problem with is the graphite grey. All of the others have been fine. Oh gosh, this looks like a lovely inky blue. Okay, I'm pretty excited about this one. You know how I love a Payne's Grey. Yeah, this is beautiful. Rich dark inky blue. I really quite like a Payne's Grey that leans a bit more blue. I'm loving these paints. I am loving them, truly. I would tell you if I didn't like something. Like I told you about the binder. If anything happens with any of the others, I will tell you. But they feel so nice to work with. And that Payne's Grey is gorgeous. Okay, so the next one is Payne's Blue Grey. How does this differ? Okay, so it says it's indanthrine blue and lamp black, so PB60 and PBK6. Does that mean this one's going to be darker? Let's find out. By the way, one of the Payne's Blue Greys I really love is the Daniel Smith one. Oh, this is lovely too. Sorry, I keep saying everything's lovely. That's because everything is lovely. Yeah, it's a bit darker, isn't it? And I feel like, oh wow. Now this really is an inky blue. I was going to say, I feel like they're Payne's Grey. So this one here is kind of like a warm Payne's Grey. And this one is a super rich inky colour. Maybe, is it a bit cooler? I think it might be actually. I'm very happy with my palette so far. What do you think? Looks good, doesn't it? I don't think I'm going to be able to fit them all on these 2 pages, which is a shame, but never mind. Yeah, love both of those Payne's Greys. Well done, Jackmans. Right, so we're going to do something a little bit different next. I have Moss Stone Green, another fantastic name. And I think this one is very granulating. The pigments are PBR6, PG19 and PY43, so a brown, a green and a yellow. In the palette, it's reminding me of greenish umber. But let's have a look. Let me get it on the page. Yeah, it's like a greenish umber. Oh, I like a greenish umber. Yeah, I'm excited about this one. Let's add loads of water. Let's see what it does. Wow, beautiful colour. Yeah, very greenish umber-esque. Just going to add a bit more at the top there to make it really dark. And then we'll see how it dries. But I am loving that. I can see lots of different colours coming through. This is looking so aesthetic. This is pleasing me, this colour palette. Okay, so the next one is Sage Green, and I think this one's also a blend of pigments, so it'll make a really interesting granulating colour separating paint. So it's PR101, so that's a red pigment, PR233, which is a red pigment, PB29, which is a blue pigment, and PY150, a yellow pigment. It looks pretty much black in the palette. I wasn't expecting that. Ooh. Now this is interesting because the name Sage Green makes me think of something other than this, but I have to say I am liking this. Maybe when you add loads of water, does it look more sagey? Maybe it dries sagey. Okay, well, we'll see how it dries. I am loving it though, even though it's not what I would call a sage green. Just going to add a bit more at the top there. Do you know, I'm excited because I think I can fit them all on the same 2 pages. I think I can squeeze the remaining 4 in there. So that's going to look very nice. I'd prefer to have them all together, then we can really see how the palette works together. Or the colours work together within the palette rather. Okay, so this one is Davies Grey. I love a Davies Grey. I own lots of different brands of Davies Grey. So this one is PW6, a white pigment, PG17, a green pigment, and PBK7, a black pigment. So let's see what their Davies Grey is like. Ooh. Now I wouldn't mind a wall this colour. This is nice. And can I just say, look what the sage green is doing. Oh my goodness. New favourite colour? Possibly. The Davies Grey is really quite an opaque colour usually. Look at that, what a gorgeous green. I mean, I'm not quite sure why it's called Davies Grey because they're always very green. That is a beauty. I'm loving that. I would totally have a wall that colour in my house. If I'd have thought this through, I would have done 9 colours on that page and 9 colours on that page. But I didn't bother doing that because I actually thought I'm not going to be able to fit them all on. But there we go. So I'm going to squeeze these ones in, but hopefully they won't look too strange. So this one is Terre Verte. I also really love a Terre Verte. This is a colour I have kind of, I think a few versions of actually. So this is just a single pigment. This is PG23. And Terra, I always find, is quite a sort of weak pigment, but it's delicate and nice. Very natural. I love a natural looking green. I'm not a fan of vibrant kind of, I don't know, very unnatural, synthetic kind of greens. Although I know in nature you can find all sorts of greens, but I like the more subtle ones. Yeah, that's really pretty. So jade green is the next one I've chosen. This one is a little bit, again, it's got a little bit of a binder separation issue. So that's only the second one that's been like that. Right, what are the pigments in this one? PG19, a green pigment, PY150, a yellow pigment, and PB29, a blue pigment. So I think this one is going to granulate and we're going to have some colour separation. Let's see if I can fit these last two colours on here. Why didn't I do it so that there are 9 on each page? That's so annoying. Oh, this is lovely. Lovely dark, rich green. Oh, nice. That's really nice. Okay, let's add loads of water. We can really see what that does. Oh, that's so pretty. Okay, I'm just going to bring that down a little bit. I'm going to make it too thick and heavy. Let's let that run into there. What a pretty colour. Okay, and lastly we have Perylene Black green in brackets. So Perylene Black is always green. It's like a really, really dark green, but it is a black pigment. It's PBK31. So this is essentially a single pigment colour again. And yeah, I always find this an interesting one because a black pigment that looks green. Oh, this is absolutely gorgeous. Wow, you really don't need much of these paints. A little goes a long way, and I'm so annoyed that I'm having to squeeze this in here, but you know what? Needs must. That'll teach me, won't it, for not planning a bit better. Look at that, how nice is that? Oh, I'm very happy with my greens, I have to say. Good choices. I think that is a lovely palette. So I'm going to choose a few of these colours to work with. I'm going to work on, I think, one of my classic landscapes, and we will combine them with gouache, and I will talk to you a little bit about the process of that and why I like to do that. But I'm just going to label these final 4 here, and then I'll leave them to dry, and then I'll film them when they're dry so you can really have a look at how they look when they're fully dry. Hello, it's me. I'm back again with a voiceover for this part. So I'm just going to talk you through my process here. This is just a very simple little demonstration. I decided to actually work on a bird painting because I thought this would be a nice, quick and easy way of sharing my technique with watercolour and gouache. So it kind of gives you the basics. This is something actually that I'm asked about quite often, is like my process for combining both watercolour and gouache in the same painting. For those of you who don't know, and I suspect a lot of you do, but for those who don't, watercolour is much more transparent, and I find it often has a lot more texture than gouache. So gouache is like a more opaque watercolour, and it tends to not have the granulation of watercolour, so it doesn't have that really interesting texture, but it does have the opacity, which means that you can go over the top of what you've painted in watercolour, and you can add some really nice details, and it will give a nice flat matte kind of quality. So I really like the contrast of the two in one painting. Of course, you could just use watercolour for your paintings, or you could just use gouache, but there's something about combining the two that I really find works for me. So how I would start is I would basically paint the main part of the painting in watercolour. So all of the background tends to be, I would say, in watercolour, and that's whether I'm working on a forest, a landscape, birds, whatever it is I'm working on, I would do the main parts in watercolour. I'll then, at the end of that, when I've finished painting in watercolour and it's completely dry, I will then go over the top in gouache. But at this point of the painting, as you can see, I am just adding the branches, and all of this is in watercolour. So I think the colours I used, the Jackman's colours I used in this painting, were a mix of the moss stone green. I think some of the blue ran into it. Now, I think that was the Payne's blue grey, I think. And so it's a little bit of a mixture. The little birds are a bit of a mixture of both of those colours. And as you can see, they have a lovely granulation. I really enjoy that. I love the texture of watercolours, as I said. And I think I used the burnt umber for the branches. Well, you can see something's happening here that wasn't planned. I didn't like how that little bird was looking. I put his legs on. I wasn't sure about him before, but when I put his legs on, he just looked completely wrong. So instead of just scrapping the entire painting, I decided to cut the little bird off, and I got rid of him, and I just kept the other bird because I really liked the shape of this one. So there's a little tip for you. Never throw away the entire painting. There's usually something you can salvage. So here I'm starting to work in gouache over the top. So the gouache brands I like are Holbein, Winsor & Newton. What else do I have? Daler Rowney. I quite like Daler Rowney, actually. And so I have a few brands, but I'm noticing that I'm enjoying the Holbein probably more than any others. And so I tend to have more of those. And I think I use those exclusively for this demonstration here. So you can see that with the opaque gouache going over the top of the watercolour, it really shows up nicely. And that means you can add all sorts of little details and patterns. I'm using my really tiny brush here. This is the Pro Arte Proline brush. I think it's the size 30, so it's really tiny. And I love that one for fine details. I'm just going to share a couple of my landscape paintings here where I've used this same technique. So you can see that I've worked on most of the painting in watercolour, and then all of the little details you can see over the top, pretty much all of those have been painted in gouache. So because it's so opaque, it actually stands out so well against the base colour. This technique just works really well for me. It's my preferred way of painting. I very rarely just use watercolour or just use gouache. I will more often than not use a combination of the two. So I hope that you enjoyed this quick demo, and I hope that you've enjoyed seeing these really lovely watercolours. I'll leave all of the details in the description below, including the discount codes. And if you made it through to the end of the video, please leave a comment saying little bird, and I'll know you were one of the people who made it right through to the end. Okay, everyone, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please hype it. Please subscribe to my channel. It all helps helps the videos to be seen by a wider audience. So thank you very much. And a big thank you also to my Patreon members, especially Carol Repholz. And I will see you all again soon with another video. So until then, take care and stay creative.